I've spent most of my career studying Paul and his influence on Christianity. Now, I'm turning to Peter. I'm travelling to the land where his formation from humble fisherman to the Bishop of Rome took place. And I'm discovering for myself the places he influenced.
There's 2,000 set of pork ribs it could have been.
You know, don't make me hungry, Dan.
Following his path of most unlikely transformation. I'm Con Campbell, and I'm in pursuit of Peter. My plan was to take a boat from Tiberias to Capernaum, where Peter lived. I rendezvoused with a bit of a wild man, Dr. Jack Beck. He's all about exploring wherever he finds himself.
You know where we're going?
No, not a clue here, so...
Okay. We'll go straight.
When in Israel, Jack often hikes 100 miles or so with his students through the wilderness. One of his catchphrases is, "The land still speaks." We were supposed to connect with a tourist boat to cross the lake to the ancient town of Capernaum. We could just drive around to Capernaum, but apparently my producer thinks it's more scenic this way. I suppose he's right.
But for sure, we are going to hit a dead end here.
Yeah, this is a dead end.
It's a...
Where's the boat?
I'm guessing that's the Kinneret, so we may have to jump the rail and climb down.
Walking and talking is easy. Walking, talking, taking direction from producers, and finding our boat, a little more difficult. But eventually we made it. To be honest, I think the camera guys pointed it out to us. And even though this is the second cruise out on the lake I've had in as many days, I must admit, my producer is right. Sunrise on the water is rather nice. You know, I'm in pursuit of Peter. He seems the most unlikely of all. You read the stories about Jesus in the Gospels, and he is cool, calm, and collected. And Peter is the opposite. I mean, he's a hothead. You know, he's impetuous, he's stubborn, but he's very eager and he's very committed to Jesus, even though I think it takes him a long time to work out who Jesus is and what Jesus is really doing. And the Gospels all present Peter as the leader of the disciples.
Yeah.
And really probably as the closest figure to Jesus throughout Jesus' ministry. I mean,
and when he gets it right, he gets it right. I mean,
he really gets it, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, when Peter gets it wrong, he gets it horribly wrong. And when he gets it right, he really gets it right. So you got to appreciate a guy who goes all in.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's it. That's it.
But back all that up, Con, for a moment, and think of Peter out here on the lake.
Yeah.
What's he thinking about, right? I'm paying taxes to a Roman entity, a European entity that has invaded and is oppressing us. We're living as occupied people. Are these the people we want as part of the kingdom?
Right.
Who we are is a product of where we're from.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that on Peter.
Right.
There's a lot of that non-Gentile love in Peter that he has to shed, and he works through that during those early times. And he's the guy who's been tested, right? He gets caught by these tests, and he's so out there that he stumbles into mistakes that are designed to help us understand.
He helps us to see a way through our own failures. I had to wonder how many times Peter tied up his boat here and then walked home, smelling like fish. He must have been surprised when Jesus settled here. But for Jesus, this wasn't just a way to be near Peter and others that he knew. As Jack tells his students, everything Jesus did and every place he went was strategic and purposeful for his mission.
So, Capernaum, this is a significant village on the lake here in Jesus' day.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got lots of different things going on in very complex economy, from agriculture to fishing to the manufacture of basalt tools to support of the international trade.
Do you think that's the reason why Jesus relocated here from Nazareth? This is a more strategic location for him.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a location that brings him two things. You have an observant Jewish population that's here, but also a steady stream of visitors. So the faces you see every day are not necessarily the same faces, nor are they the same faces that you would see at home.
Oh, it looks like a great site. So I'm going to take a look around and I'll catch up with you a bit
Enjoy
later.
your time.
All right. Tradition holds that this structure here is the house complex where Peter and his family lived here in Capernaum. And that makes this a very popular tourist site. And in fact, there is a huge structure. You can see the bottom of it sitting on the top of it. It's actually a church. Now, this is also the site of one of the earliest miracles attributed to Jesus. Jesus visits Peter in his home. And Peter's mother-in-law is ill. She has a fever. And Jesus raises her up out of her bed by the hand, and she is healed and begins to show hospitality to her guests. So it's interesting to see that Jesus and Peter are quite close. Jesus is in Peter's home, and he knows Peter's family. But also, this is how we know that Peter had a family, because he had a mother-in-law. So we know that he was married, living here in Capernaum, with his wife and with his mother-in-law. We don't know if they had children. We can probably assume that they did. But this is the spot right here. So it's pretty neat.
It's very beautiful inside. And to be able to look down on this huge glass floor, looking down into Peter's house. People have been coming here for centuries to remember both Peter and Jesus. Excavations have uncovered the basalt foundations of neighborhoods in the area. Houses were definitely smaller and neighbors were close. Capernaum would witness more miracles than any of the other places Jesus went, and Peter had a front row seat. One miracle captured the attention of the whole city when Jesus healed a local man who was paralyzed.
Peter probably knew the paralytic man. He probably knew the man's friends. He probably knew everybody in the house on that day. That just further impresses upon Peter the difference that Jesus makes to people's lives, because it's not just a miracle, an isolated thing. For us, we tend to treat it like that. Oh, this guy was healed. That's nice. That's interesting. Wow. Okay. But he's someone that you know, and you continue to know after that event. You know, you continue to have a relationship with, and you see how a life is transformed by their interaction with Jesus. You know, so when you know the people who are impacted by Jesus, that impact goes on. It continues. And so that's going to continue to play on Peter's mind as he wrestles with, who is this man? Why does he have this authority and power?
Those questions must have been dogging Peter constantly. He witnessed so many of Jesus' miracles. He also had a front row seat to Jesus' teachings and was keen to hear about the coming kingdom of God.
Here he is.
I
Found him. He's got the fish, Peter the fisherman, and he's got the shepherd's rod. Feed my sheep, Jesus said to him. In the text, St. Peter, on this rock I will build my church, Matthew 16, verse 18. Of interest to all nationalities around the world. Everyone here, if they're here for Jesus and they're here for Peter. It's a beautiful spot here. I mean, it's very well preserved except for the UFO built on top of Peter's house.
Seeing the faces from across the globe reminded me of Jesus' parables about the kingdom of God. And my educated guess is that those stories clashed with Peter's idea of what the kingdom should look like. Especially the one about the mustard seed. It starts as a tiny seed, and yet over time grows into a huge tree. This apparently is a mustard plant with mustard seeds growing in these little pellets. So yeah, that's a mustard seed. If Peter is looking for something spectacular, this doesn't look like it's going to give it. But that's the point. I mean, if you want to understand the kingdom, you need to understand the king. And Jesus is like this mustard seed. He dies a humiliating death with criminals. But after his resurrection, after his ascension, after the pouring out of the Spirit, after the preaching of the apostles, this little seed grows into a huge mustard tree and continues to grow. So everything gets turned upside down. It's a spiritual kingdom. It's one about allegiance to Christ as the king, rather than a political reality. And that might not look like much. In fact, it's invisible. You can't see it. Where is this kingdom? Where is it? You know, where are its tanks and missiles, and where are its palaces? You know, they're nowhere to be seen. And yet, it's more powerful, actually, than all the nations of the world. It's interesting with Peter. I think it's clear he is in a process of getting it. And he comes close to getting it, and then he goes back, you know, and I think he spent his whole life thinking a certain way about the kingdom of God, that it's going to be a political revolution, that it's going to overthrow the Roman oppression, that it's going to restore the state of Israel, the kingdom of Israel. So it takes a long time to reshape the way you think about things, to reshape your worldview. He's with Jesus for 3.5 years. You might think, come on, you're with Jesus, can't you just get it? And it's easy with hindsight to say that, but that's not a long time really to completely revolutionize your own mind. On one occasion, Jesus gave the order to go to the other side of the lake. On their way, a great storm covered the boat with waves, but Jesus was sleeping. Peter and the other disciples woke him and said, "Lord, save us, don't you care?" And Jesus asked the most fundamental questions he could ask of any of us. Why are you afraid? And where is your faith? Then he spoke to the storm, and it immediately calmed. Their response was something appropriate. What kind of man is this? A field trip can be a helpful teaching tool, so I was excited. But when Jesus brought Peter and the disciples across to this side of the lake, I don't think they were too happy. It had to have raised questions. We're not told if they knew why Jesus wanted them to come here, and after the storm they just experienced, they may have been afraid to ask.
Hey, so this kind of looks like a Roman marketplace. Is that right?
Yeah, it sure does, and it sure is. We're in Hippus, a Roman city.
Yeah.
So it totally fits where we are.
Well, what are some other indications that we're in a Roman city here?
Yeah. Well, there's lots of things going on in this place that make it very, very different than the other local communities. The beautiful paved road that we walked in on, right?
Okay.
Villages would have dirt roads. Here you've got this beautiful paved road. We walked past some water delivery piping, and that's off the grid. If you live in a village here, you walk to your cistern or well. Here you have the water actually brought into the community, and you've got stores here. And that's not going to be something that's part of a local village either.
So roads, waterworks, stores, the marketplace,
Okay, yeah, we're in Rome right here.
Yeah.
Mini Rome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've left the Middle East for the moment and have entered Rome, and that's the whole point of the Decapolis city. It was meant to convince the locals that the worldview of the people up here and the religious perspective of the people up here was better than anything local.
And not only that, I imagine with being here at this high place, it sort of reminds them of the imposing Roman authority over the region, right?
That's exactly it.
So I can only imagine that people like Peter, from a religious Jewish family with some political fervor, would hate a place like this.
Yeah, it was pagan country, and it was exactly the wrong place for an Orthodox Jewish boy.
All right, well, let's take a look around.
All right.
I give tests to my students, sometimes pop quizzes. And I think this excursion was Jesus giving a pop quiz to Peter and the other disciples. What is Peter thinking about Jesus wanting to come here?
Terrible idea. There's nothing about this is a good idea. They get on the boat. What do they encounter? A windstorm. Time to turn back, Jesus, right? We've had enough. We tried, right?
Yeah.
We tried going east. Boat hits the shoreline and the welcoming party. Think in terms of Peter's Jewishness. Guy comes out of a cemetery. He's naked.
Yeah.
He's screaming at you. I'm not convinced Peter got out of the boat. Yeah. I think Peter stayed in the boat saying, Jesus, it's time for us to go back to our side of the lake.
But how is he going to interpret what Jesus does? Or is he just completely confused about why Jesus wants to come here?
Well, I think Jesus was working to reset his paradigm.
Okay.
Remember that as someone from the west side of the lake, from an observant Jewish perspective, you're viewing the Gentiles on this side of the lake as a pagan other. And so Jesus is coming over here to show Peter and the disciples that he's going to show the same love and concern for people on this side of the lake that he'd shown on that side of the lake.
Now that leads into the famous story of Jesus exorcising the demons out of this man, and we're told that it's a legion of demons. And he casts them into a herd of pigs.
Yeah.
Who then run down a slope, maybe like this one, straight into the lake.
They go into those pigs. They could have grazed on the hillside. And instead, the demons do what demons always do.
And they
destroy their host by rushing down into the water and drown.
Although to me it seems like a bit of a waste. There's 2,000 set of pork ribs that could have been.
Yeah, don't make me hungry, Dan. There's a number of these things that are going to occur in his life that Jesus will use to help him understand what the kingdom of God looks like in eternity. And it means that when Peter looks at this side of the lake, he can no longer think pagan foreign occupier, the pigs, the great other. He has to think members of the kingdom.
When I stand at the peak of the mountain, where the towering spectacle stood, my eyes were blind, my hands were cold.
The reason I'm pursuing Peter is because we can identify with him. He is the most human apostle, the most human example of the apostles that we have, because we get this close-up view of all his foibles and follies, all his mistakes. And the amazing thing is, Peter himself is the main source for these stories, because scholars agree that Peter is Mark's main source. I find that amazing. Peter has such humility to put his mistakes out in the open. He tells Mark all, allowing himself to be known for the next 2,000 years as the fool that he was. All in the hope of helping others follow Jesus better. I mean, this is what any new follower of Jesus has to go through. No one is just like, bam, okay, I'm a believer in Jesus and I'm now fully formed as a disciple. No one is like that. But the point is, Peter, we can relate to Peter and we can learn from that. We can be encouraged by that and encouraged by the fact that Jesus uses a guy like that so very powerfully